Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to Alien Protocols. On the last episode, we spoke about the biologicals that are being built, the numerous different types, and where they would be probably built, which is locally, surprisingly enough, and some of their uses, anything from avatars for their primary intelligence to specific goals, high priority missions, leadership, dynamic tasks, contact, and other things. But when you really look at the full scope of the extraterrestrial phenomena, and you think about all the different types of manufacturing, sure, they're most likely building these biological second generation life forms nearby, but they have a lot of other production requirements when you really think about it. I just made just a guess about some of these requirements, and of course, being a more advanced technological race, they would be able to have shortcuts, but they would need raw, unprocessed source material. Whether they get it from the manganese nodules that we speculated about in a previous episode, which are very rich in a lot of the metals we know they utilize. But if you just go through some of these things that we know they should be doing, or we think they could be doing, we can project some of their requirements. So let's say they need to gather some of this raw, unprocessed source material. This is going to take, at least one or two, or maybe quite a few craft to just gather the material. Then it has to be purified somewhere, separated, and stored. This would take at least one or two factories or bases of some kind. Now, this location could be the same as this next location or requirement. Some of these things, now that they're down to their basic elements, they have to be processed upwards into compounds and alloys that are usable to them. Now, there could have other methods where they could build everything just from the atomic level, which is oftentimes speculated, and therefore they may not have to process compounds and alloys. But that is a reasonable speculation. Then they have to have their final construction somewhere. And we know there are a lot of craft and a lot of different types of craft. And then something else to really think about. We don't think they're just ditching these craft afterwards. They're recycling them. That's what I would think is the most logical thing, that they would be recycling on some level. They'd break down these craft to some of the constituent components, I would think, to maximize their efficiency and not just, waste stuff. So these all take factories and personnel, and of course a lot of this stuff can be completely self-automated, but you would think there's other priorities of things that they would need. For example, if this all started from a von Neumann probe, I would think that they would want to send out more von Neumann probes, right? So they would have to have some place where they, gather their source material afterwards and then make these von Neumann probes. Now, once a civilization starts this spreading process throughout the universe, you can logically assume that it just keeps spreading. Once they land on a planet and they start reproducing themselves, their first priority is probably to send out these von Neumann probes to more distant locations. So I would think they would have some von Neumann probe factory somewhere and project, according to a larger plan, where they should be sent to. This is a really fascinating thought, The von Neumann probes could go in several ways. An independent probe just on its own, Or it could have like a mother, larger seed von Neumann craft that as it goes on a certain path, it shoots out the von Neumann probes to good locations. But when you really look at all the numbers for the construction of all this stuff, this is a lot of material, a lot of locations, and a lot of personnel, even if it's majority operated in an automated fashion. What do you guys think? Do you think all this construction is happening locally? Much love.